So let's go back then, revisit getting a perfect score. Those of you who just came in should also have handouts. Someone please make sure that they have those. All right, so now today we're going to actually begin with, last week what you had was a series of speeches. And each and every one of them was meaningful in some way, and I hope that you took something from each one of those speeches. It was amazing to me that we had several of these people who have made it so far in their lives, and they came from nothing. Did you remember, does anyone remember what Senator Espada said? What happened to him when he was 14? Homeless. It's amazing. And that he has come so far. And it's just, we were very fortunate to have all of these people in the room. And they are acknowledging you. They're very proud of you for what you're getting ready to do. Don't think it's a small thing. It's a big thing. Now, generally speaking, during these lectures, you're going to be listening to presentations by other students and by guest lecturers about their work. What we're looking to do is to see 4 general things within each one of those presentations. You should be giving us an introduction to, this tells us that you understand what the whole thing was about. For those of you who might be younger and this is your first year in the program, this is not always going to be so easy for you, bless you. We know that. Do your best, just try your best with the idea. Give an introduction to each one of those presentations. A brief summary of the topic presented and the research findings. Now, which doesn't mean that in every case, in fact, earlier in this series, when students will be starting, you may be asked to give a presentation, you are just starting your actual lab research, you probably won't have so much along the way of findings. But you might be talking about what you may expect to be possible scenarios of the outcome. So there may not be results to talk about. Say that in your description of the presentation. Methodology, the scientific process used to conduct the research. What did the student use? Now, this is not always going to be elucidated by a guest speaker. That just won't always happen. But by student speakers, generally speaking, they will tell you how they went about it, the methodology, and what the materials were that they used. Some of these presentations will have an entire slide of materials. We certainly don't expect you to get all of that down. Not all of it. Just maybe some of the more important things. And by the way, using your camera phone to photograph slides is out. Understood? Verboten. Forbidden, that is. Okay? Don't do it. Again, that's using your phone. Now, because the idea, this is an exercise for you in case you haven't gotten that yet. The idea is that this is a training ground for you taking notes to understand what's being done. This is preparing you for later on. And we're not taking the easy road, okay? Unfortunately, that's a fact. But on the other hand, it would not be serving you for us to take the easy road. If you go into a university situation and you sit in the front row and someone's giving a presentation and you whip out your camera phone to do that, no, you can't do that. There are ethics involved here. And you guys are coming up at an age where, video is everything and you think that it's acceptable. Copyright infringement is acceptable to you. But in this big wide world, it is not to others. And you have to adapt yourself to that and prepare yourself to do it the right way. Now, scientific implications. What is the topic presented how or why is the topic presented important in the scientific community? This is where we're asking you to stretch. Think about it. How could it be important in other ways? What is there that could possibly this be applied to? Or what could it possibly grow into in terms of down the road? You need to think. And questions that you might ask about that. What questions is this presentation or research raise for you? Now, when we say no open-ended questions, what does that mean? Hello, wake up if you're not listening. What is a closing question? Yes or no, exactly. So, in other words, don't ask a question that can be simply answered yes or no. That's not the kind of question. We want thought-provoking questions that would require some sort of explanation or discussion. So, we will be grading you based on these criteria. So let's say you see the percentages of what these things are worth based on a score of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's say if you get all presentations covered with enthusiasm and in-depth understanding of each topic, then you get a score of, we will either... What is a closing question? Yes or no, exactly. So in other words, don't ask a question that can be simply answered yes or no. That's not the kind of question. We want thought-provoking questions that would require some sort of explanation or discussion. So we will be grading you based on these criteria. So let's say you see the percentages of what these things are worth based on a score of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's say if you get all presentations covered with enthusiasm and in-depth understanding of each topic, then you get a score of, we will either multiply these percentages up or down and do, it's really just basic math. Methodology, step-by-step and method matches materials. And you can see that, for example, there may be a lecture where you miss 1 or 2 things. Well, you won't get as good a score as if you got all of them. But, on the other hand, it won't kill you. But if you consistently miss certain things, let's say that you never ask any questions, that will be noticed and you will be downgraded appropriately. Now, spelling. Grammar check. You have this wonderful function on your computer. It is absolutely inexcusable to submit a paper that hasn't been run through spelling and grammar check. It is just inexcusable, and personally, if I get a paper, I just throw it right back at the student. Run the spell and grammar check, then give it back to me. I'm not doing your work. And that is what we are not here to do. You must do the spell and grammar check. So we will be taking off for that. Your writing style, some of you I know are not native English speakers. We know that. We take that into consideration. Grammar, again, you can utilize your grammar function to fix a lot of things. It may not be perfect, but think about agreement, verb and subject agreement, that sort of thing. And also length. Some of these presentations will be multiples, and your papers, generally speaking, should be week to week at least about 1,000 words. That's on the low end. I actually write up your lectures as well for the organization, and some weeks I could write as many as 12 to 15,000 words, because there's a lot of information that comes through here. I wouldn't expect you to write that much, but mine is more of an official report, whereas you're learning.